Tonight, slow down. Canada's hot housing market begins to stall. An upward trend running out of steam.
Seems to be leveling out.
Now, what lies ahead for real estate nationwide?
I think that's good news down the road for buyers.
The relentless searching in China.
Thought I heard a child.
Tonight, CTV News moves further into the quake zone and meets Canadians making a difference.
There is still hope. There are still people alive.
And a critical snapshot.
This is an example of somebody with autism.
The Canadian invention that could become the earliest test for autism.
Good job, buddy.
CTV News with Lloyd Robertson.
Good evening. There are clear signs tonight that for some people in some parts of this country, the high cost of putting a roof over their heads is beginning to come down to earth. For a decade, we've been talking about the housing boom in terms of temperature, as in red hot. Now the market is dialing itself down from feverish to lukewarm. More on the latest trends from CTV's National Affairs correspondent, Lisa Laflamme.
For sale signs in springtime are as perennial as the grass, but this year growth is anyone's guess. Canadian home sales are off 15% from last year's record levels, but prices aren't necessarily dropping, still up on average 5%.
Booms eventually come to an end, and I think that's what we're looking at right now. But at the same time, I think that's good news down the road for buyers who didn't get into the market this time around as affordability gradually improves.
The most dramatic slowdown, Alberta. Once Canada's hottest housing market is recording sales drops of almost 40%.
Well, we have to actually advertise now.
Calgary home builders desperate to attract buyers are offering everything from coffee to free cars. But more on the market means more realistic prices.
It seems to be leveling out, which I think is honestly good news for everybody. A level market is a more balanced market.
While Alberta has officially become a buyer's market, the sweet spot for sellers is next door in resource-rich Saskatchewan. Average house prices are rising more than anywhere in the country.
Last year at this time it was barely 120, so yeah, we've seen doubling of prices.
Those days could be over in Ontario, where sellers have no choice but to tone down expectations of bidding wars, a relief to potential buyers. But Canadians won't likely see the bargain basement prices of the U.S. market still suffering the subprime mortgage meltdown. In Atlantic Canada, the only double-digit growth is Newfoundland and Labrador. The attraction? The strong economy.
Returning Albertans and people in Western Canada looking back towards Atlantic Canada, and that's certainly, I think, helping some of the housing that we're seeing currently.
Canada's housing market overall is expected to cool even further over the next year, bringing more balance for the first time in a decade. Lloyd.
So it's a balance here, Lisa, as opposed to a bottoming out, as is happening in some cases in the U.S. Now, do we understand that to be because the fundamentals are stronger in Canada than they are south of the border?
Well, economists are quick to point out that our market has always been more conservative, fundamentally more sound. You know, we just haven't had the same kind of risky lending that resulted in the foreclosures in the U.S. or that speculative buying. And also, our market isn't overbuilt in terms of stock of unsold homes that really drives down those prices. So this is a cyclical downturn, and analysts say it actually may bring some sanity to the market because those out-of-whack asking prices are unhealthy, not to mention painful. So buyers will actually have some choice.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.
Good night, Lloyd.
For thousands of Canadian workers, some assurance came today that they will be able to hang on to the houses they've got. In these tough times for their industry, the Canadian Auto Workers Union reached 3-year agreements with Chrysler and General Motors. The contracts will freeze wages but will preserve many jobs. At the same time, the hard-pressed companies will save money. CTV's John Vanavalli-Rao reports.
For more than 20,000 GM and Chrysler workers, the good news, if you can call it that, is that their salaries won't be slashed.
I think this truly is a win-win situation in a difficult time.
A deal similar to one reached with Ford a few weeks ago that will see wages on the assembly line frozen this year at $34 an hour, while workers will lose a week's annual vacation in return for a one-time payment of $3,500. A retirement allowance of $25,000 is being eliminated, and workers will now have to pay 10% of drug costs, rather than a flat fee of 35 cents per prescription.
There was a significant move made on our part in recognition of the incredible financial problems that the industry is facing.
In return, Chrysler is committing to keep a plant in Windsor as its lead minivan producer for North America, while GM, which announced earlier this week it was closing a plant, is now promising to invest in new production and will postpone layoffs at an Oshawa truck plant until later next year.
Anything to keep us working. Gas prices are high, so it's kind of hard when you're selling big trucks, eh?
With the Detroit 3 continuing to lose market share, some analysts say they didn't want to go to war with their workers. But some experts fear by not giving up more, the Canadian auto workers may be making it too expensive in the long run to build cars here.
But at the end of the day, the Canadian operations are $20 an hour more costly than any other operation anywhere in the world for GM, Ford, and Chrysler. And why would they put up with that situation longer term when they have a choice?
Meanwhile, workers still have to ratify this deal. They will vote on it later this week. As for Buzz Hargrove, he says this was his last contract negotiation as union leader. He faces mandatory retirement next year. John Venevali-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
To the story of the earthquake in China now. For hundreds of thousands of people in that country, jobs and the economy are the least of their worries. They're literally struggling to survive and grieving for those who did not. China said today the death toll from Monday's massive earthquake could climb to 50,000. Some regions cut off by landslides are only now being reached by outsiders. One of them is Beichuan, a city near the epicenter in Chengdu, where up to 80% of the buildings were destroyed. CTV's Steve Chow joined a team of rescue workers who made the difficult trek into Beichuan today on foot.
Deep in the mountains of Sichuan province, Chinese soldiers ferry out the injured. Every few minutes, another is found and is carried out on makeshift stretchers. There are also the dead, so many. A husband here, elsewhere, a young girl, which her mother immediately recognizes. More than 1,000 children died in one school alone. Their bodies set aside and half forgotten in the race to save lives. And it is a race. With roads cut off by landslides, soldiers must search for victims by hand, using only the tools they can carry. The area is large, the task enormous. Almost every building in the town of Beichuan was destroyed.
From this vantage point, you can see how complete the destruction is. These used to be 5 to 7 story apartments. They've fallen in on themselves, there are crushed cars, and there are tens of thousands of people still buried underneath.
And everywhere are the cries of people searching for the missing. Here a woman pleads for police to find her husband. It's in this environment we meet Paul Schuster, a Canadian medic who survived the quake himself. He came to Beichuan with the Chinese Red Cross to do what he can. Falling into a destroyed building, he tries to treat a woman trapped beneath. Not far is the body of a man who succumbed to his injuries.
There is still hope. I mean, in spite of all the rubble, there is still hope. There are still people alive, and we're hoping that we can find as many as possible.
Schuster's wife, Michelle, is here too. A nurse, she and her team comb through the wreckage, listening for cries for help.
I thought I heard a child. It's hard to see. I see so much devastation and feel so helpless not to do anything. So,
as more soldiers arrive, a woman and her husband prepare to say goodbye to their daughter. Incense and paper money, burned in hopes their 9-year-old will have a good afterlife. There is likely more grief and desperation ahead. 3 towns deeper into the mountains have yet to be reached. In the words of one rescue worker who caught a glimpse by helicopter, it's worse than imagined. Lloyd?
Steve, we saw the Chinese teams and Canadians climbing over that wreckage. Looks dangerous.
Well, there is no question about the danger. Search and rescue teams have been going into buildings, on top of buildings that could collapse further still, and then there is the threat of aftershocks. We ourselves felt 3 during the time that we were there. But in the words of the Schusters, the need is too great to ignore.
CTV's Steve Chow in Chengdu, China. In Burma, the urgent needs of up to 2.5 million cyclone survivors are still not being met, amid reports that emergency food aid is being sold on the black market and that starving refugees are being used as forced labor in the cleanup effort. 2 weeks after the devastating cyclone, the government says fewer than 50,000 people died. But international observers say the toll is much, much higher. Very little aid is getting in, but disturbing and graphic pictures are getting out. This footage shows piles of twisted bodies in the rubble of a school that collapsed on victims who had fled there after their homes were destroyed. There is a surprisingly simple weapon to help women in the fight against breast cancer. It's as close as the drugstore, no prescription required, and why it may make a big, big difference to overall health.
The party? Yeah, it's all set. I got lots of Philly dips. You didn't know Philly made dips? Yeah, and they're half the fat of the leading sour cream dip. Albert, he'll be there.
A little taste of heaven to dip.
For the first time, 3 of the greatest movies of all time are finally available as special edition DVDs.
You call this archaeology?
This is fun! The Indiana Jones movies. Own them on DVD today.
And you gotta make room for the boo-boo. We're doing it. Everybody knows everybody. Dynamite.
Their taste in music? Questionable. Their taste in drinks? Impeccable. Because Sunny D is a good source of vitamin C and B1. And has a taste they can't get enough of. Which is the one thing that makes everyone happy. Sunny D. It's the good stuff kids go for. Now in orange strawberry.
All right, the keys to your new car. Can't wait. Here you go. You will bring your car back here for every oil change. I will? You will ignore the fact that Mr. Lube is faster, easier, and warranty approved. Okay. When I snap my fingers, you will remember nothing. Who am I? Who are you? What are these things on my face? I can't see!
Ready for a change? Come into Mr. Lube for a fast, warranty-approved oil change.
New from Valida.
At last, a true all-in-one solution. Brand new glass ceramic scrunch. Look at this.
Ooh, tough burnt-in dirt.
Before, you needed detergents or a scraper. New glass ceramic scrunch is tough on dirt,
but gentle on the surface.
Glass ceramic scrunch. No chemicals, no scratches, and a street-free shine. So you can enjoy more things in life. New glass ceramic scrunch. Part of the Scrunch family from Valida.
As most people have noticed by now, the current U.S. presidential campaign is livelier than it has been in years. It's also touchier, and today set off a new flap by something President George Bush said in far-off Israel. Bush took a verbal swing at those who believe in negotiating with terrorists. Back home, some Democrats concluded Bush was talking about their presidential contender, Barack Obama, and became pretty upset. CTV's Joy Melvin has that story.
As Israelis celebrate the 60th anniversary of their country, some must have wondered why President Bush was taking them back to the evils of Nazi Germany.
As Nazi tanks crossed into Poland in 1939, an American senator declared, "Lord, if I could only have talked to Hitler, all this might have been avoided."
But there he was in the Israeli parliament, ridiculing those who would talk to extremists to appeasing Hitler.
Some seem to believe that we should negotiate with the terrorists and radicals as if some ingenious argument will persuade them they have been wrong all along.
The White House denies it, but was Bush stoking fear about the Democratic presidential frontrunner?
We can't be afraid to talk to our enemies.
Barack Obama says he'd negotiate with rogue state leaders like Iran's Ahmadinejad. In a statement, Obama accused Bush of mounting a false political attack. Democrats were furious.
This is bull. This is malarkey. This is outrageous. Outrageous.
Rivals closed ranks.
Comparison of any Democrat to Nazi appeasers is both offensive and outrageous.
The speaker called it bad manners.
Beneath the dignity of the office of president.
So what was he thinking? Maybe this was political ammo for an ally on the Republican front.
Why does Barack Obama, Senator Obama, want to sit down with a state sponsor of terrorism?
With Republicans and Democrats already drawing a line in the sand over foreign policy,
Expect a second war of words when the general election begins. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
In this age of the internet, parents are constantly being warned about the threat of online predators. But the people stalking their children aren't usually soccer moms. Today, a 49-year-old Missouri woman was charged in connection with an online relationship that ended with a 13-year-old girl committing suicide. In this case, it was a hoax that went terribly wrong. But as CTV's Genevieve Bushman reports, cyberbullying in general is more common than you might think.
It was a phone call Tina Meyer had been hoping, even praying for. News the woman she blames for her daughter's death will stand trial.
This is what we've been waiting for. For a year and a half, we've been wanting justice.
Megan was just 13 years old. She connected with a boy named Josh Evans on the networking site MySpace. For weeks they chatted, even flirted. But then the boy cut her off with cruel taunts, saying the world would be better off without her. Hours later, Megan hung herself in her bedroom. But it turns out Josh Evans never existed. It was a phony cyber ID.
It was the actions of an adult which led to the suicide of a little girl.
Authorities allege Lori Drew, a neighbor, the mother of a former friend of Megan's, helped create the fake account to find out what Megan was saying about her daughter online.
This case is yet another lesson teaching us that malicious acts may have unforeseen but very serious consequences.
A federal grand jury in California, where MySpace is based, indicted Drew, alleging she used a computer to inflict emotional distress.
This case attracted a lot of attention in part because an adult is alleged to be behind the cyberbullying. It's a twist on an all too familiar story.
A survey released this week of over 2,100 students in Toronto found 21% said they were bullied online recently, and 35% said they had bullied others. Experts say it's easier to bully online when those at the keyboard can't gauge the impact of their words. But it can also be particularly painful to the victims, bullied on the social networks where all their friends hang out online.
There's more witnesses to see it, so it gets more their self-esteem.
Megan's mother is hoping the charges will help cut down on cyberbullying and teach a lesson that written words do hurt. Genevieve Bushman, CTV News, Montreal.
A verdict in Victoria, BC tonight in the so-called case of the tethered teen. A jury has ruled that police violated the charter rights of a 15-year-old girl when they tied her up in a padded jail cell in 2005. Police video shows Willow Kinloch in the cell after she was arrested for being drunk. Police tied her hands and feet behind her back, tethered her to the door, and left her alone for 4 hours. They say it was for her protection and theirs. But Kinloch sued, saying she knew it was wrong, and today a jury agreed. They awarded her $60,000, saying police used excessive force and subjected her to cruel and unusual punishment. There was lots of optimism in North American financial circles today. Here's a quick look at some of those closing numbers. We'll be back shortly, but first a preview of what's coming up in local news.
Coming up, a real estate agent expecting to meet some clients, meet some violent thieves instead. How can agents protect themselves?
And the roar by the Lakeshore is returning to Toronto thanks to a former race car champion. Those stories and more at 11:30.
The Honda Drive a Winner event is on now, where every car's a winner. Get incredible lease offers on the award-winning Accord LX for just $298, or the 5-star safety-rated Odyssey DX for $328, or lease Canada's best-selling car 10 years in a row, the Civic DX with 0 down for $198, and get 0.9% purchase financing on other selected models. Drive a winner. Visit your local Honda dealer today.
I'm not trying to cause a big sissy sensation. Just talking about my generation. My generation.
Say hello to the newest generation of Nikon Coolpix cameras. Smarter, faster, sleeker with Nikon's XP digital processing. There's a Nikon Coolpix that's just right for you. Visit nikon.ca.
Not trying to cause a big sensation.
In this world, there are spenders and savers. Spenders like to spend, savers don't. But can the two ever meet? Can spend and save ever peacefully coexist? Yes. Because now when you spend with your Scotiabank debit card, your purchases can be rounded up, and the difference is saved into a high-interest account. So you spend and you save. It's called Bank the Rest, only at Scotiabank. You're richer than you think. Scotiabank.
Extra, extra! It's the biggest news in the nation, and it's all about you. Because Chevrolet brings you the Canadian Pricing Advantage. Cash price adjustments up to $77.50 on select 2008s. On other select vehicles, get purchase financing as low as 0% for 72 months, or lease rates as low as 0.5%. All backed by the best coverage in Canada. Extra, extra! That's the story, and it's on at your Chevrolet dealer.
Closed captioning of this program is brought to you in part by CTV.ca. Watch full episodes of Grey's Anatomy online at CTV.ca.
Canadian researchers have found another link between vitamin D and human health, in this case, surviving breast cancer. A 10-year study suggests women with low levels of the nutrient have a far greater risk of dying from the disease. The question now, should doctors advise patients to start taking large doses of vitamin D? With more on the deficiency and the debate, CTV medical specialist Avis Favreau.
Carol Baggerly calls it her insurance, several pills of vitamin D a day to make sure the breast cancer she battled 3 years ago never returns.
To prevent the recurrence of breast cancer, to prevent the fear that comes with cancer, it's worth taking vitamin D. It's so simple.
Now, a Canadian study suggests she may be right. The study shows breast cancer patients who have adequate levels of vitamin D may prevent their cancer from returning and spreading.
If they're correct, they may have an important impact on breast cancer management in future.
Researchers tested blood levels of vitamin D from over 500 newly diagnosed breast cancer patients. More than a third of the women were seriously deficient, and they had a 94% greater chance that their breast cancer would spread over the next decade, increasing their risk of dying by 73% compared to women with higher vitamin D levels. No surprise to this long-time vitamin D researcher.
Vitamin D is a basic that cells need in order to function properly. If you take that away, they don't behave properly and they become more at risk of being cancerous.
But despite these encouraging results, researchers say it's too early to tell women with breast cancer to take vitamin D supplements until more studies confirm its protective effects.
Something that is as inexpensive as this, as non-toxic as vitamin D is, in reasonable doses, that would be a major advance. We're not there yet.
Carol Bagley's take on it all?
Go to the drugstore, the grocery store tomorrow and start taking 2,000 IU a day. Now.
Huge faith in a vitamin that's attracting greater scientific scrutiny. Avis Favreau, CTV News, Toronto.
And briefly in other news tonight, gays and lesbians celebrated today as the California Supreme Court overturned a law banning same-sex marriage. They hope the decision will have an impact in other states that have outlawed homosexual unions. But opponents are fighting back. They want Californians to vote on the issue in November's election. The Calgary Zoo welcomed a new arrival today, a western lowland gorilla. The birth is important because these animals are endangered in their natural African habitat. It's also some happy news for the zoo following the mysterious deaths of 40 stingrays in a tank where visitors were allowed to feed and touch them. The baby gorilla has not yet been named. And is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Fusion Man, the name a former fighter pilot gave himself before strapping on his homemade rocket pack and zooming among the Swiss Alps at 300 kilometers an hour. He even tossed in some aerobatics, as we see here, joking on landing that he did it all to impress the ladies. When we return, an early warning autism alert. Better detection means a better outcome. An exciting Canadian discovery next on CTV National News.
Imagine what a well-tailored suit can do. Moore's, well-made, well-priced, well-dressed.
Peak Cream's Lifestyle Selections has created Cranberry Citrus Oat Crunch. Better for you cookies that taste so good, you're going to have to find other ways to be bad. Peak Cream's Lifestyle Selections. Cookies so good, you don't have to be.
Sun been down for days, a pretty flower.
When you buy a car, you think about what's going in it. And so do we. With the highest government crash test safety rating and the security of OnStar. No wonder it's the 2008 North American Car of the Year. The totally new Chevrolet Malibu.
With summer just around the corner, it's the perfect time for the Special K Challenge. It's simple. Eat low-fat foods like Special K Red Berry cereal and exercise for 4 weeks. Then see how confident you feel about stepping out this summer. Get ready with the Special K Challenge, because feeling good never looked better. Get a $10 coupon for La Senza Spirit Activewear on specially marked boxes of Special K cereal and bars.
Style that will get you noticed. Moore's, well-made, well-priced, well-dressed.
And finally for us tonight, some new hope for parents of children with autism, a mysterious disorder that affects the ability to communicate. It's long been known that intensive therapy can help affected youngsters lead a more normal life. And the sooner the treatment starts, the better. Now, Canadian researchers have come up with a device that can detect the disorder earlier than ever before. CTV's Murray Oliver reports on the breakthrough and what it could mean to autistic children and their families.
At a farm. A therapy session helps Cody learn some basic life skills. When he stopped communicating at 18 months, Cody's mother suspected autism, but the doctors had difficulty making a diagnosis.
So by the time he was 3, I got an official diagnosis. So I had really lost out on a year and a half of active therapy time. All right.
A revolutionary study at McMaster University could diagnose children at a much younger age. Helen Wall puts her 1-year-old son Felix in an eye tracker. In just 10 minutes, researchers can predict his risk. Normal babies look at the eyes in a photo, autistic babies, the mouth, chin, and cheeks.
The hope is that if we can identify these babies really young, at 9 months, maybe even at 6 months, that we can get them on track, we can get them the intervention they need.
The device could be available to pediatricians within 2 years. But diagnosis is just a start. Most provinces have long waiting lists for therapists and experts. This Toronto man, the father of an autistic son, has been on a hunger strike for over a week, calling for a national strategy on autism.
Although nobody can really say why, in the last 10 years, the number of Canadians afflicted with some form of autism has increased by 600% to 1 person in every 150.
Early detection, early treatment will require more money.
In some communities, it's very bleak. They have a difficult time obtaining a speech therapist or an occupational therapist to be in their community, access to diagnosis and to supports.
You just got to keep plugging away.
Cody is making good progress with therapy. His mom hopes other children will have even better opportunities with a much earlier diagnosis. Murray Oliver, CTV News, Winnipeg.
And that's the Canada Day being this Thursday, May 15th. I'm Lloyd Robertson. For all of us here in the National Newsroom, good night. Lisa LaFlamme will be here tomorrow. For some of you, local CTV News is coming right up.
CTV News, Canada's #1 newscast. Saturday.
I confess, I'm a mess.
Is mess the secret to success?
Messy people are the vast majority.
A neat desk is the sign of a sick mind.
Watch My Messy Life, Saturday at 7 on CTV.
The family of a 16-year-old who was beaten to death joined police as they canvass for clues tonight. This is CTV News. That story. Plus, brazen thieves make an appointment to rob a house.
CTV News with Pauline Chan and Bill Hutchison.
Good evening. Very scary moments for one Toronto real estate agent today.
The man was tied up and robbed, and the house he was showing was ransacked. CTV's Roger Peterson is live at the scene with the latest. Roger?
Pauline, Bill, today's incident shows it's a dangerous reminder, actually, of how vulnerable realtors can be as they show empty homes literally to strangers. As a realtor, you know it's a possibility, but you hope it will never happen. Being attacked as you're showing a house. Well, it happened today to Hun Quan Park. The new concept realtor was too shaken up to talk to us, but a co-worker would.
He's really shocked, and then his voice is very trembling, and then his leg is shaking. No, I feel really sorry for him.
It was just after 2 when Park met the fake client who had 2 other men with him. They drove off, but when Park and the third man went inside, returned. The trio then tied him up with cable ties and blindfolded him. They took his jewelry and phone and ransacked the house before fleeing.
I had someone calling and badgering and wanting to meet up with me, and
Park isn't the first realtor to find himself in trouble. Linda Sargent, a partner at Bruce Murray Realty, says an incident early in her career where she was stalked made her well aware of the dangers in her industry, and the firm now makes sure that realtors develop safe habits when it comes to showing houses.
you know, we have a system in place where agents will speak to people about preparing their house properly. We have buddy systems at the office where agents will go out with other agents if they feel that they're at risk.
Bruce Murray says they also have access to a realtor's website that carries releases on potential problems. However, he feels there isn't much more that they can do.
I mean, you could send out a security person, I suppose, with each and every salesperson, but it would get awfully cumbersome.
While disconcerting, thankfully, today's attack is still a very rare incident. Unfortunately, still no arrests in this case, so police are looking for 3 suspects at this time. Reporting live from Roger Peterson. Now it's back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Roger. The discovery of a body in Caledon late this afternoon has the OPP working around the clock looking for answers. The call came in just before 5 o'clock after a passerby called 911. The body of a man was found lying in a ditch on Old School Road near Heart Lake Road. Police are releasing very few details tonight, but they have confirmed it was suspicious.
All the lead investigators are arriving on scene and starting up the investigation, collecting the preliminary information and evidence on scene. We'll be here for quite a few hours, and the roadway is closed.
Old School is a rural stretch of road. Police aren't saying how long the body may have been there.
Police spent the evening knocking on doors and talking to the residents of each floor in a Scarborough apartment building. Investigators are planning to canvass all 240 units in the high-rise on Cougar Court in the hopes of finding the killer of 16-year-old Mohammed Abdi Warsami. His body was found May 4th in a 10th floor stairwell there. He had been beaten so badly police at first thought he had been shot. Warsami's family is at a loss to explain why he was even in that neighborhood. His heartbroken mother made an appeal today for anyone with information to come forward.
I need a help, like whatever I can get from the community, from anybody who saw anything. I'm a mother, single mom, raising 3 kids. I don't know. I'm so disappointed.
Police are also considering the possibility that Warsami's killing was related to the stabbing death of a 22-year-old man in the same building a week earlier. But they say right now there is no evidence to suggest a connection.
He faces a difficult task. Former Toronto Mayor David Crombie was appointed by the Toronto District School Board to come up with a way to keep their pools open. And tonight, he began a series of consultations. But time is of the essence. Here's CTV's Galit Solomon.
The clock is ticking.
In 45 days, 23 Toronto District School Board pools will be drained as part of a 2-year campaign that will see dozens of pools closed.
The use of pools is an important thing all by itself.
That is, unless funding can be secured from the public and private sector. It's the only way, says former Toronto Mayor David Crombie, the pools can be saved. Crombie was appointed by the TDSB. His role is to bring all levels of government, the private sector and the public to the table where they can come up with ideas for keeping the pools open.
There are private folks have already come forward, but in order to have a long-term sustainable program, you have to have public commitment. That means the school board, that means the city, that means the province.
Today, it was the public's turn. People who run swim clubs were among those in attendance. For an hour, they brainstormed. Then they shared their ideas.
One of the ideas is that the TDSB no longer operate pools, that a separate entity be created to be responsible for pools.
The event was held at the Canadian Tire Conference Centre at Yonge and Eglinton.
Canadian Tire is not making a financial commitment to the cause at this point, but it is providing its conference facility for discussion.
Right now, we're here primarily to provide a venue and to stimulate dialogue with community stakeholders, so it's premature to say what our role could be.
Whatever the solution, time is running out. Crombie knows he is working against the clock. Galit Solomon, CTV News.
Time now to check in with Dave Duvall and an early look at the forecast. Dave?
Pauline, if there was any way to change the weekend weather forecast, I'd be the first one to put it into effect. Right now, we're looking at a special statement that Environment Canada has issued concerning the likelihood of frost throughout all of southern and parts of south-central Ontario. And as you move to the north here, get up around Parry Sound, Haliburton, Algonquin region, it's actually a frost warning, all because of that high-pressure system, which has clear skies, light winds, and very cool temperatures. We do have a couple of lows moving through. This one will stay south of the lower Great Lakes. This one's going to head into northern Ontario, but this one that's coming in from the Canadian West, well, it is taking dead aim at the Great Lakes area, and it looks like it's going to be here for our weekend. Checking conditions right now, as of 11 o'clock, it is partly cloudy and 11 degrees outside the studio and at Pearson, and I'll have a complete forecast for you later, Bill.
Thank you, Dave. As of the end of this month, convenience stores will have to keep cigarettes out of sight.
You can only show 2 feet by 6 inches at a time, and you can't lift them up to let the customer choose their kind of cigarettes. They have to know what kind of cigarettes they want.
We can't open them for longer than 10-15 seconds, just enough to put your hand in, grab what you want.
The provincial government is mandating the cabinets in an effort to prevent kids from starting smoking. This store in Uxbridge spent $800 for its cabinets. Public health inspectors will start enforcing the new regulations next month. Stores that don't comply could face fines of $5,000.
Shut your eyes and open your mind. That was the theme tonight at the Eyes Wide Open fundraiser for Mount Sinai Hospital. The event was held at This Is London on Richmond Street. CTV was a proud sponsor, and MTV personalities Jesse Cruikshank and Dan Levy were there. They're best known from the popular Hills After Show. Money from tonight's event goes to Leadership Sinai, which funds volunteer programs and charitable initiatives for the hospital.
Michael Andretti plans to bring Indy car racing back to Toronto in 2009. Andretti Green Promotions has purchased the assets of the Grand Prix of Toronto, which owned and operated the race. Toronto was left off the list of race cities for the 2008 season when the Champ Car circuit was absorbed into the IRL earlier this year. Andretti, who retired last year as a driver, admitted he has a special place in his heart for the Toronto race. After all, he won it 7 times.
The return of the Roar by the Lakeshore will be good news for tourism in the city, and there is more good news. Toronto now has a new global ambassador to spread the good word. Comedian Russell Peters, fresh from hosting the Junos this year, was introduced today by Tourism Toronto as the city's ambassador. He will appear at major trade shows promoting this city to convention planners. It's not the only initiative by Tourism Toronto. Dana Levinson has more.
It's very much an honor.
We are a city made up of culturally diverse neighborhoods where tourism officials say a subway token becomes a passport to an intercontinental journey.
You can have breakfast at a French patisserie, lunch on the Danforth in Greektown, and then Chinatown for dinner, and then cappuccino in Little Italy for dessert. And that's the kind of experience, that's what diversity means in Toronto.
We are the most multicultural center in the world. We have a little of everything here, and that keeps the tourists coming.
Canadian people is very friendly, you know, really friendly.
Would you come back to Toronto?
Yeah, of course.
Despite the naysayers who insist gas prices and a high dollar will kill tourism, it is estimated that 2008 is going to be a stellar year. This month, Tourism Toronto will launch a major promotional campaign in New York City, building up Toronto as the urban destination. This Toronto magazine will be distributed in every commuter train station in the tri-state area.
And CTV is being honored for celebrating our city with the My Toronto campaign. We asked you, the viewers, to tell us stories about a special person or place in your neighborhood.
Today, CTV's Don Fell, Executive Vice President, accepted Tourism Toronto's first President's Award. It's for our sponsorships of local events and our popular My Toronto campaign.
I think the campaign has been such a great thing for the viewers because it really celebrates the diversity of our neighborhoods in the city. And the stories have been really, really compelling.
It's just a thing about Toronto and the fact that good things happen in Toronto.
CTV News began producing the campaign in September, and what a response.
My Toronto is the cat, the Toronto Animal Service.
Hundreds of viewers sent us their videos to our website using cameras, camcorders, and mobile phones. You told us what your Toronto means to you. Tourism officials say this campaign promotes tourism because it gets Torontonians excited about our city. And what better ambassadors than our very own citizens? Dana Levinson, CTV News.
And Tourism Toronto also announced a major convention that will be coming here. The American Institute of Architects annual meeting will be held here in 2017. The meeting will bring more than 25,000 delegates to Toronto and result in $13 million in spending in the Toronto region.
And Russell Peters said he always talks up Toronto whenever he goes touring around. He sells out wherever he goes. So he's a great ambassador, and now he gets an official title to be able to go out and sell Toronto.
All right. Still ahead on CTV News, the latest high-tech way to dry your hands.
I'm Pat Foran. Have you ever washed your hands in a public restroom and maybe there are no paper towels or the hand drying machine doesn't work? Well, now there's a new machine that may be coming to a public washroom near you. I'll tell you all about it coming up.
I'm Joe Tilley. Flyers not ready to call it a season just yet. And a real rough edition of this week's Adventure Sports coming up.
I got this. Got a low introductory credit card rate.
Let's go.
What's that?
It's my Capital One Prime plus 0.9 credit card.
Prime plus 0.9.
Avoid skyrocketing introductory interest rates with the Capital One Prime Plus 0.9 card. Apply today at CapitalOne.ca.
What's in your wallet?
For all the smiles you give and all the days you spend, for all the ways you share and all the hope you lend, of all the times that count in all the help you've been, for all the things you bring, where shall I begin? For all the things you
The 2008 Passat, German engineering from only $27,475. You're there.
Want odorless relief from nagging muscle pain? Take the MyoFlex challenge and smell for yourself. Well, there you have it. MyoFlex is fast relief from muscle pain without the odor. And get odorless pain relief in a deep therapy patch, only from MyoFlex.
Some people would do anything for $25,000, but you have to do nothing. Chum FM's $25,000 for nothing. Listen to Roger, Rick, and Marilyn at 7:10 tomorrow morning. You could win $25,000 for nothing.
Eco paints are now more environmentally friendly than ever. So next time you paint, go green. And use Seco paints. Seco paints. Liquid inspiration.
Super 7 presents Because You Can, starring Jesse Streets.
Because you can!
With this Friday's colossal $25 million jackpot. Because You Can, starring Cosmetica.
Because you can.
With this Friday's gigantic $25 million jackpot.
Hey, Dave. Sweet new accent. Mind if I take it for a spin?
Sorry, I can't find my keys. Whew.
There's never been a nicer time to get into a Hyundai, like the fun-to-drive Accent from just $9,995, or the well-equipped Sonata from just $18,995. So hurry in for 25th anniversary pricing at the Blue Ribbon Sales Event.
Well, Dave, can we call you the man in blue tonight?
I had
Sir.
the honor.
You have to salute him and
Sir,
have to call
Sir
him
man
sir.
in
That's
blue.
what you told me all night, right, sir?
Okay. I had the honor and privilege of being the reviewing officer for 151 Oshawa Royal Canadian Air Cadet Squadron tonight. And I'll tell you, Pauline, Bill, the pride that those youngsters show, you know, when they put on their show tonight, and they were presented with awards and so on. Rotary Club supports them to the limit, and tomorrow night I'm going to have some video of the show that went on tonight. But right now, what I have to show you is the weather, folks, and it is brought to you by Markville Toyota and their exclusive First Choice Value Program. Prices so attractive, you won't even bargain on them. Okay, what am I looking at, you might well ask? Well, I'll tell you. It's a sundog that results from the reflection, or refraction, if you will, of sunlight by small ice crystals that make up cirrus or very high clouds. They typically appear at sunset or sunrise and very often indicate the approach of a disturbance that usually brings wet weather. Unfortunately, that's exactly what this sundog is indicating as a disturbance approaches us from the west with rain and showers for your holiday weekend, or at least a good part of it. Right now, I want to show you some temperatures around the area, and they're cooling down considerably. Parry Sound already down to 7. Everybody else is just barely making it into the double-digit range, but as I say, that's all going to change. The risk of frost in many areas tonight, and of course, the frost warning further up north, well, that's going to give way to cloud cover. The high pressure system is going to continue moving off to the east and take the clear skies along with it. A disturbance will move through northern Ontario, drag a cold front in behind it, and as it does, well, that is then going to be followed by another disturbance, which this time is coming in from the Canadian west. So, doesn't look very good as we head into our first holiday weekend of the season. Southern Ontario clear with frost tonight and light winds. A few cloudy periods tomorrow. That means a moderate UV index reading. But as we move into Saturday and Sunday, mainly cloudy to overcast skies with rain and or showers. Temperatures dropping down to 16 and 15. The sun does come out on holiday Monday, 14. Oh, whoopee. And then more showers or rain moves in again on Tuesday. So unfortunately, this has to be the symbol for your holiday weekend, folks, whatever you're doing, and don't let the weather interfere with whatever your outdoor plans are. Just have one of these with you. That, folks, is the weather, and it has been brought to you by Markville Toyota. The exciting redesigned Toyota Corolla and Matrix are at Markville today. Pauline and Bill.
Thanks very much, Dave. Time now for some lottery numbers. The pick 3 number is 969.
The winning payday numbers 1, 34, 47, and 66. Joe Tilley joins us now with sports, and I'm convinced this is being engineered by the NHL. They don't want the conference finals to be 4 straight because it'd be too long of a layout for the
That's
Stanley
right,
Cup.
and if you watch the penalties that were called tonight, they really seem to favor the Flyers.
See, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you it's fixed.
They wanted a game Saturday afternoon, they wanted a game Sunday afternoon, so there you go. Well, maybe. Seems like a possibility. Sports is brought to you by Richards Wilcox Garage Doors. Make that first impression a lasting impression. They've already gone way further than anyone could have possibly imagined. I mean, they were dead last a year ago, but the Flyers would have really had a rough summer if they got swept by the cross-state rival Penguins. The Pens were poised to complete the sweep tonight at the Wachovia Center in Philadelphia. Joffrey Lupo wheels in on the right side. Lupo fires off the stick of Hal Gill over the shoulder of Marc-Andre Fleury, and it's 1-0. Philly power play. Randy Jones lets it go from the point. Fleury gives up a rebound for Daniel Briere, his 9th goal of the postseason. Another PP. RJ Umberger fires through traffic. Jeff Carter corrals the loose puck. 3-0. The Wachovia was rocking. What would a Flyers Penn series be without this kind of activity? The Pens make this interesting. Jordan Stahl, one-timer. He had a couple. And more physicality as the Flyers hang on 4-2. It's back to the Mellon for Game 5. A trip to the final is on the line tomorrow night as the host Canadians face Sweden in semifinal play at the IIHF World Championships tomorrow afternoon at 5 on TSN. These two countries have combined for the last 2 World Championships and the last 2 Olympic gold medals. They've had some great tilts, and both sides expect to have their hands full tomorrow.
Been some good battles over the years for sure. I know the 2 tournaments I won here have both been against Sweden in the final, and they're always a very good team, and tomorrow's going to be a real good challenge.
Goal 4 lines are bringing a lot to the table for us right now, and you know, play here in Canada against Canada, it's a great challenge for us.
Well, the Jays are no longer last in the AL East. That distinction now belongs to the Yankees, who are really missing Joe Torre. Meanwhile, the Jays are finally getting some timely hits today. They went for a sweep of the Twins in mini. Dustin McGowan looking to even his record at 3-3, gets Brendan Harris. 2 on in the third for Alex Rios, who chops this Glenn Perkins pitch through the right side. Brad Wilkerson heads home. The Jays added another in the inning. Bottom 3, 2 down, men on the corners. McGowan's pitch gets away from Rod Barajas. Matt Tolbert will score 2-1. To the 5th, Justin Morrow pounds one to right. That's off the baggage. Adam Everett checks in. Brendan Harris is going to try to follow. Here comes a relay. Barajas blocks the plate, and he is out. They needed extra innings. 2 down in the 11th. Joe Inglet slaps one past a diving Matt Tolbert to score. Scott Rowland with the winning run. Jays over the Twins, 3-2 for the sweep, and the Rays beat the Yankees, so the Rays now have a 1-game lead atop the AL East. Well, with primo options for Bill seats at stake, Argo tickets are suddenly a hot item. They had over 500 in drive-through sales today. With more, here's Claude.
Drive-thrus in the GTA may be commonplace, but not like this. Check this out.
How you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, Andre Talbot from Toronto Argonauts.
Wayne Soft, Toronto Argonauts.
Morning. Good morning.
And the cheerleaders.
Yeah. We got your tickets waiting for you right here. You want a coffee?
You know what? Make mine a double blue. As an Argonaut double blue, a unique approach borrowed from the Edmonton Eskimos to drive up support and sales for tickets.
Today, this is something we want to start on, build on, people get used to it, and we're going to do different locations downtown over the next couple weeks.
Great, well, thank you for your support.
Bought at bargain basement prices, making for quite a win-win situation.
I think this is a great promotion, anything to promote the CFL.
Serving the GTA and Steeltown? Wait a sec, you're from Hamilton, you're buying Argo tickets.
Yeah, but I'll go to plenty of Cat games as well. But you got to support Toronto. I've lived here for 40 years, man.
A ticket drive aimed at exciting Argo fans, not eluding the Bills' Toronto Blitz.
Yeah, we have competition, but at the end of the day, I think it's good for football, and the Argos will be fine.
Claude Fay, CTV Sports.
The Hornets had a chance to advance to the NBA's Final Four tonight. All they had to do was knock off the defending champion Spurs in San Antonio. Bruce Bowen out to Manu Ginobili, filling it from downtown. His second of back-to-back threes. He had 25. Third quarter, Chris Paul to Gennaro Pargo, stopped by Ime Udoka. And here come the Spurs the other way. Tony Parker to Tim Duncan. Lay in Anaheim. The Spurs roll 99-80. It's back to Louisiana for Game 7. With all the earnestness at our command, we bring you the following with help from Nance Fancy Nancy Lim.
And now it's time for the Excellent Sports Adventure.
A 1, a 2, a 3.
Okay, let's get it on. I mean, fire away. Clear the runway. King James is coming. Oh, yeah, they love it. Evgeny Malkin all alone. Oh, that's money. Mikko Koivu. Larson has saved Robert Ashe. What does Tony Roma think?
Take me out to the ball game.
Chris Paul. He just wills this ball in.
And that goes in.
That was Michael Jordan-esque.
Stay with us now. Hot shot. Scott Rowland slides over, guns to first from his knees. Oh, there's plenty on our plate. A liner as Drupal Cabrera diving stab, steps on the bag, tags the runner. That's an unassisted triple play. Try hitting this pitch. Kevin Statler's approach at the TPC, and I'm guessing he's going to be happy with this.
The home ball game.
You have just witnessed the excellent sports adventure.
He took singing lessons from Jessica Simpson, didn't he?
That was really awful.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Joe. Still ahead, a slightly better singer, Shania Twain feels like a single woman again. She and Mutt Lange are calling it quits.
Nowadays, it seems like everything is trying to be cool. But isn't trying to be cool the furthest thing from cool? Introducing the Saturn Astra. With its European styling and loads of standard features, it's everything you want in a car. Because maybe instead of trying to be cool, we should all just, well, be. Just something to rethink about. Saturn Astra.
It's a real Cinderella story.
She comes out of nowhere, and it's like boom.
Hit after hit.
Are you at a loss for words, Josh?
What do you mean she's going to change TV forever? Well, find out.
One man wants to know the truth.
Put her in every home on the planet.
Who is Scarlet? I mean the real Scarlet.
The evidence is staring you in the face.
Scarlet!
Things aren't always what they seem. Scarlet, the hit new series of TVs from LG.
I really like spending time with you. I feel like we click. Like there's a real chemistry. Dan?
Don't you think that cloud looks like a motorcycle?
You see it?
I see it.
People need to bank at 8 in the morning.
So important.
Now TD Canada Trust is open even longer.
Banking at night. Banking in the morning.
Saturday.
When I feel like it.
Sheesh.
What's wrong the way it used to be? Get to the bank, it was closed.
Open 8 till late. That's 50% longer than the other banks.
Some people would do anything for $25,000, but you have to do nothing. Chum FM's $25,000 for nothing. Listen to Roger, Rick, and Marilyn at 7:10 tomorrow morning. You could win $25,000 for nothing.
Maybe you want to expand your territory or to be celebrated by admiring colleagues. Whatever you want from life, the right career can help you get it. Start your job search now. Your life awaits at workopolis.com.
At Infinity, we anticipate that you will constantly be surrounded by things you'll need to avoid. Introducing the all-new Infinity EX with the world's first around-view monitor. Ordinary is seeing behind you. Extraordinary is seeing around you. The all-new EX from Infinity.
Closed captioning is brought to you in part by Super 7. Friday's jackpot is an estimated $25 million. Unleash the power of the Super 7.
A company famous for its vacuum cleaners has come out with a hand dryer for public washing.
It's been in use overseas for a couple of years, and now the Dyson Airblade is showing up in some restaurants here. Pat Foran has the details.
At the Jump Cafe and Bar on Wellington Street, you can enjoy fine wine and dining. And when it's time to use the restroom, there's a new way to dry your hands. Jump has become one of the first restaurants in Canada to install the Dyson Airblade.
You're guaranteed that your hands will be dry. You're not wiping on your suit, so it's perfect.
James Dyson, best known for selling vacuum cleaners, was in Toronto last year to tell us about his company's invention. After 3 years in development, he says it will revolutionize the way we dry our hands. No more wiping the hands on the pants.
No more wiping hands on the pants, and of course it's much, much cheaper than paper towels, which are bad ecologically.
Melanie Wild with Dyson Canada says the air is filtered so that bacteria is not blown onto your hands. She says patrons immediately prefer the air blade to other hand drying methods. The new hand drying system is clean, fast, and it's good for the environment because you're not using paper towels and creating waste. And with airflow that goes about 640 kilometers an hour, it can dry your hands in about 12 seconds flat. Pat Foran, CTV News.